In a world hungry for change, nonprofit impact matters more than ever. Yet, you're asked to do more with less. What if you could do more with more? That's the promise of Bloomerang, the giving platform built for purpose. Fundraising, CRM, and volunteer insights are integrated to reveal opportunity and generosity so you can make more connections with more funds raised for more impact. Now, that's more like it. Learn how you can do more with more at bloomerang.com. Welcome to the Purpose and Profit Club podcast for nonprofit leaders, mission-driven creatives, and social entrepreneurs. Get ready to stop dreaming and start doing. Here, ideas become action. We prioritize purpose and profit. You ready? Let's go. Welcome back to the podcast. We have a very special guest today. So Megan Ihnen is here. She is the executive director of the Live Music Project. She's also one of my clients inside of the Sprint Method. And when she sent me this email that was like, we did it, all caps and exclamation points, we hit our sprint goal, I was like, you have to come on the podcast. You have to tell us everything. So we're going to talk about that today. But first, I have to say, Megan, I was watching your YouTube videos before this. You are so talented. So I think we just need to give everybody the lay of the land, not only of the work that the Live Music Project does. I want to hear about that, but I want to hear about your work, your voice, and you were recently named one of Musical America's top 30 professionals of the year. So wow, congratulations. Welcome to the podcast.
Oh my gosh, what a great welcome. Thank you so much, Christina. This is great. I like to say that I am a mezzo-soprano on a mission to change the world through the commissioning, performance, and proliferation of new music, which means that I studied as an opera singer in grad school, and I still perform frequently. The work that I do in music is mostly as an experimental vocalist. And so I work with a ton of composers and I premiere new works and I do all sorts of cool out there kinds of music making. And so that is a huge part of my life. That's a huge part of my professional life. And through that, I have, written a blog for many, many years. And that turned into getting more involved with, arts administration and community building and arts marketing and all sorts of things. And so my career really has like three pillars to it. So the performing and recording side of my life. I am also a faculty member at the Peabody Conservatory, and I have a coaching studio where I help performers and composers with their businesses. And then the arts administration life, which is part of my work with the Live Music Project, is I'm the executive director. I am following our founder, which was an amazing, amazing experience of our founder transition, because that can be such a challenging time for a lot of organizations. And so I really have to give a shout out, especially after this recognition by Musical America, because Shia Lion, our founder, is incredible, just an incredible human being who started this, who's had the vision for it. She is still our chief product officer and helps build all of our own tech. So really getting to work with her so closely and getting to shepherd this organization as the second executive director is such a challenge, but it's also such a treat. Like it's really been so eye-opening for me to experience this. I've worked in lots of arts organizations and all different budget levels and sizes and things like that, but to work being the first person after the founder has given me this completely new perspective and what that means. And I think that's going to translate into some of the things that we're talking about with this particular campaign, is that Live Music Project began in Seattle in 2014, and it started with our flagship program, which is this now a national, international concert calendar of classical music events happening, everywhere. But it really was Seattle focused for many, many years up until 2021. Technically 2020, we went international with the pandemic overnight because everything moved to online performances, and we pivoted super hard to help our community make that possible. And we could talk, many hours about that. But and then also during that time, Shia started a program called Spontaneous Free Tickets. And Spontaneous Free Tickets is our second big program. And this connects listeners with live classical music experiences in their community for free. So
So good.
they get an email that says like, hey, these are tickets that are available, throw your name in the hat, and like, and then they win those tickets. They go to these performances, they feel welcomed by the people who are running the performances. And then as part of that process, they fill out a survey about their experience where they get to tell us about, their spontaneous free tickets experience, but they're also sharing about what that experience of going to hear the music was like with the arts organizations themselves, which may, for some folks that maybe aren't as familiar with, performing arts, they may not know that in the performing arts, we don't always hear from first-time attendees, and we don't always get to hear from these people that we really, really want to welcome in. We hear from people who've been here forever, that
super fans.
Super fans, the ones that are very involved with the organization. And so this particular program also sits at a very important juncture for getting that feedback and then being able to provide that to the arts organizations. And I'm also really pumped because we ran this in a super manual way for like ever. The most manual, time-intensive way. And then because we are also a tech for good organization, that allowed us to take everything that we learned about how that process works, every single step of the process. And then we've recently just built our new platform that's going to be able to take this program national. So that is launching also during this fiscal year. So I am feeling really good about that. But it's been, these are all just growth changes and going from an organization that was servicing Seattle to what does it look like to grow into continuing our servicing of Seattle, but then all of our other focus cities as well, and becoming a national presence for those things. So that's, lots that we could talk about for LMP. And I think that's just where I want to start with helping people know like what we're about, what we do.
Yeah, exactly. When you first joined Sprint, I remember seeing the name of your organization and just getting so excited because I worked in live music for so long that I was like, yay, I'm just excited to learn more. And I think with classical music in particular, it can feel a little bit like if you're new to it, it can just feel like, is this for me? And I love what the free tickets are doing is like lowering that sort of barrier. And also on the flip side, what the surveys are doing really, really smart, where it's like you're already creating belonging on that like first. So good. I have to read this. So one of the things we do in Sprint, which we'll get into, is really look at customizing and optimizing your fundraising page. So like the story of the fundraiser. And I was looking at it today for the fundraiser that you exceeded your goal. And you it's so good what you wrote. You put, and I think this will help our listeners understand what you do. In a world of paywalls, noise, and algorithms, we make live classical music viable. You can find the best Thai food within 3 blocks in 2 seconds, but trying to find which string quartet is playing down the street tonight, one chance. Culture calendars bury concerts under monster truck rallies and pop-up shops. That is so true. It is so true. Like if you were going to try and find it, it would be so hard. And then you say, this really got me. Event apps prioritize who pays to play, and Ticketmaster built to extract, not connect. Meanwhile, real concerts are happening just around the corner. So that's where you step in. It was such a good way of saying, like, not only in layman's what you do, but in saying to where I was nodding along, where it's like, if I wanted to find really, really great Mexican street corn, I could find it very quickly because we have apps, we have websites, we have algorithms for that. And it's like, not the case here. And it's like Ticketmaster is the big bad wolf here. And it takes all the, anyway, I really want to applaud you for the way that you said that, so that, because one of the things we do in Sprint is we're bringing in new people, right? We're working your network, your friends of friends. So friends of friends are landing on LMPs, fundraiser, not knowing what you do. Boom, you've said it so well. Well.
Yes. And I think that I have to give you like so many kudos for providing also a custom GPT in Sprint Method, because I definitely workshopped that a lot. I feel very comfortable, writing that kind of story forward idea, but I really, really wanted to work through my ideas. And I find that, there's a lot of feelings about AI. And so I'm not going to tread too deeply into that, but I like to use that as a strategic thought partner to keep going through all of that stuff. And so that was so helpful. And because I had board members that asked me, like, why are we referencing Ticketmaster? Like, what is, we're not even, we don't do tickets necessarily that way. And I was like, yes, but Ticketmaster is a very clear example for lots of people that like go to music that you're like, oh yeah, that feels the ills that come about when it's like profit over people. And that's the opposite of what we do. So
that's right. I could even see a board member going, why are we talking about Thai food? Like, why are we talking about Thai food? Because I'm nodding along as the prospect, as the reader going, yes, I get it. And so I'm so glad that you found the GPT helpful. And like, I'm glad that you positioned it this way. So let's dig into what prompted you to join Sprint, like kind of where were you with fundraising and what kind of change were you looking for? Most fundraising advice assumes you've got a full team, a big list, and 6 months to plan. But if you're running the show solo or with a tiny team, I've got something better. It's called 10K in 10 days, a free live training where I'll show you how to run a short, focused campaign online and raise real money fast. It's happening Wednesday, January 21st at 1 p.m. Eastern. Show up live and get a special bonus and discount to join the Sprint method. Save your seat now at splendidcourses.com/10K.
Yes. Christina, I'm so glad you asked this. I was so burned out on fundraising last year. And I was putting myself through kind of these are like, when we do our campaigns, we kind of typically follow these formats. I'm not too precious about any one of those things. So I would kind of change stuff here and there. But I just felt like I felt so overwhelmed by it. I felt like it was just going into the void. I'd have a board member that said, we have to do direct mail, and then like 0 donations from a direct mail campaign. And I was like, great, but that just cost me a lot of money to do it. And to not
time.
Yeah. And like
time.
All of that. And so when I saw Sprint Method come through, I was like, this is exactly the kind of accountability that I need. I do work pretty independently and my schedule is kind of full. So I was like, I do need something that I can also do kind of self-paced in a lot of ways. And that really spoke to me, knowing that we'd have calls every so often, but if I couldn't make those because of a schedule thing, then that wasn't gone. It wasn't just like, oh, well, you missed it. And so having the course, being able to just like work myself through these steps, like we talked about the custom GPT, having our calls, these kinds of things gave me a framework. And then I could also, like I said, go back to my board members and say, hey, we're trying some new things. And I took this on. This is my goal this year. I'm personally investing in this because I wanted to increase my fundraising skills. So it's something that, fit into the budget that I could put towards this myself, because I want to be better at this. And I've tried, I've interviewed lots of colleagues who are development directors. I've asked people, I've done some like individual coaching, and it never helped me kind of get through to those next steps. And so this really was the framework that helped me be like, okay, I can apply this to a campaign. And then it gives me like if I get demoralized with like a step that maybe I try something and it doesn't necessarily have the impact at that moment that I'm looking for, I can try the next thing. I can keep trying the next thing. And and I just really have a throw everything at it mentality in a lot of ways, which is partially why I'm just texting everybody and so that was, honestly, the format, the way that you think about it, the encouragement that you provide through that, and being able to do that kind of in a self-guided way, all really, really pulled me towards this. I was like, okay, this is exactly what I'm looking for. And I was like, if I just follow the steps, and you have a lot of like really encouraging language in there that's like, most people, I think, are exceeding their fundraising goals by doing this. It felt like just enough of the like social proof and the testimonial side of this to be like, okay, people are having success with this. And the investment that I'm making is probably going to come back if I just put in the time and follow these ideas. So,
I love it. You reminded me that one of the things I wanted to flag on this conversation was that because of your schedule, because you do wear multiple hats, like you weren't on every call, you were able to do this asynchronously. And I think sometimes people are like, well, if I can't come to a call, I can't succeed. No, you 108% of your goal, you exceeded. And so and you described a lot of the person I built this for. I created this for the person who's like, sometimes I'm over here in a different business, or sometimes it's nights and weekends, or sometimes I just want to like bust out this whole campaign in a sprint. You know what I mean? And I also need something else. And I also don't have 25 hours a week to do this. And I also don't have a development person and a marketing person. And so you hit a lot of who I built it for. And so thank you for highlighting that. Yeah.
Well, and I absolutely recommend it for anyone who's listening that is like in that same role. You were like a team of one in so many ways. And you're like, and so I cannot recommend it enough for somebody who's kind of doing that, fractional ED role that, you wear all the hats. This is something that just really like lays it out, and you can just follow along and be like, okay, keep going. Just like what's the next thing? So I
love it.
Appreciate it.
So let's walk through your sprint that you did, this most recent one. So let's talk about it. So what was your goal? And I know you said it felt like a stretch. It was more than you had raised before in a campaign. Yeah. So walk us through that.
Yeah. So individual giving is the area where I am probably the weakest in my own individual skills when it comes to development and fundraising. And so while I've been, finding success with like grant funding for a live music project, that also means that post-pandemic, our individual giving numbers were like, just really like slowly like coming down and down and down. And I was like, this is not reflective of like our services and all of this kind of stuff. And so last year in the same campaign, I ran I think it was about a 4-week campaign, and we do our biggest one between Giving Tuesday and the end of the calendar year. That's kind of our biggest campaign of the year. And so last year, I only raised something like $2,500, which is also still is a lot in some cases, depending on, all numbers are relative to your organization. But for us, that was like, and for me, that felt like, I am so demoralized here. And so I set a big goal for myself of 10,000 for this campaign. And I remember getting ready to like push, publish on Give Butter and being like, I should change this number. I should pull it back. Like this number is making me slightly ill. I was like, I have no idea how I'm going to do this. And I was like, okay, but it's okay. Just go for it.
But Christina says, if you feel a little barfy, you're probably on the right track. Like that's your expansion, right?
Yes.
Right. It's like, we're going to feel a little barfy. Yeah.
And so and then also doing it in 2 weeks this year.
Yeah.
And
collapsing timelines. Yeah.
Collapsing the timeline. That was helpful. I did do a little bit of like preceding information and things like that. So I guess if you wrap that in, I was working on this campaign for a month, but it was public for 2 weeks. And so our $10,000 goal, this was our first time using Give Butter, which we added on top of our development stack, which includes Little Green Light. And so I had asked you about that too, because I was like, wait, is this do I have to like migrate over to this? I'm really concerned about that. And so that was actually really easy to implement and gave me a lot of tools that I think folks are looking for when they trust like a fundraising platform. So that was great. I thought that it was super easy to use. We've done peer-to-peer type things in the past, other platforms that offer that as an option. And it was, kind of mixed results. And so I was like, you know what? That seems to be effective in this. So I'm going to go for it. We have a slate of new board members where I was like, hey, welcome and like, get ready. We're all fundraising together now.
That's right.
And this was actually my first matching gift campaign. So I I reached out to a few donors and said, I'd like to have a conversation with you. And Christina, you're going to love this one because I reached out via email and said, hey, could I talk to you about this? And one of them responded and said, Megan, we don't have to meet, but I'd be happy to give you a matching gift if that's what you want to talk about. And I was like, okay.
We love it.
And so I wrote back and I said, okay, I kind of looked at past giving and I said, would this number be, would this be doable for you? And she wrote back and she said, that's much too low. She's like, we should do this number instead. Right. And so I was like, okay. So I got really lucky in this one. And I feel like, and I didn't hear from the other people about the other people that I had asked about having that conversation. And that's okay, but I'll keep coming back to them. And we've had other conversations and, they gave during the campaign and stuff like that. So those are those same examples of like, I got to send it to multiple people. And I know that, but it's in the doing of, okay, you're not, somebody's going to ghost you or somebody's going to like not respond. And that's fine.
That is all part of it. It's like the yeses also come with the like crickets, right?
Yes.
And you said, I got really lucky. And I'm like, no, you got really brave. You got really brave and you got a higher number as your matching donation than you even asked for. And the other thing that I think is really smart is not everybody, but some people will tell you their preferred communication style without you overtly saying it. And that's what this person did. And I'm that way too. I used to have an account rep who worked for a magazine and she would always want to go to lunch. And I'm like, just send me your latest media kit. Like send me. And that's what this donor was doing, right? Is just like, I like you. I want to support you. How can I, you know what I mean? And so I love that you sort of said, okay, this is what she needs. I'm going to put it into an email. So really smart.
And she really specifically said, before I do this, I want to make sure that all of your board members are involved. And like, I want to make sure that they are like committed to fundraising, like to meeting this match. Right. So I kind of turned around and took that to the board and I said like, guys, I'm going to say yes to this no matter what, but we're doing this. And I was like, but can I tell you that? And so I did get to tell her, we don't do a give get on our board or anything like that. But we do ask that our board member, that we do 100% board giving. So they do make a meaningful gift to them in the year. Right. And so I said, we don't do give gets, but I do want to take advantage of this. Please join. All of my board members joined as peer-to-peer fundraisers. We had other people, like I had an intern join as a peer-to-peer fundraiser this year. Like so sweet. And like, and they all like had tools. I gave them, white files. I gave them all sorts of things. I really tried to stay on top of my communications with them to kind of say like, here's where we are. Here's what's happening. Here are some resources if you want to help or share this. And so we were able to make that, but the work of this campaign really came down to Shia, our founder, who is also a board member and our chief product officer, and myself being like, we're just going to go full tilt on this. And so Shia raised practically, I think raised over like the match amount right by herself. And then as I was mentioning, really, we did all of the same communications that I would typically do during a campaign of emails. I have I have a clear theme and graphics and things like that to go with it. And then social media posts and all of that, individual emails to donors, really segmenting out things, reaching out to them, asking them for like specific gifts, all of those. But then the thing that really transformed my campaign is that I just texted literally every single person in my phone book and asked them to make a gift. And that work ended up being the thing that like just shot like all the way up to the goal.
I think we overcomplicate it sometimes with like, I have to do all this stuff. I have to have this event. I have to have this gala. I have to have this raffle. They have to get something. You have to get swag. And it's like, I worked my network. I texted people. And that is sometimes the hardest, most courageous thing you could do, especially when you press publish on your fundraising page and you got the feeling of like, oh crap, are we going to hit this 10K goal? And now I'm going to work my network, my circle of friends, family, coworkers, colleagues, alumni, whoever's in your world. And what if they see me fail? What if they have thoughts? What if, so how did you deal with the mindset part of that? Because that took a lot of brave action. And not only that, it took repetitive brave action over a short period of time. So you knew that there was an end in sight, but how did you kind of talk yourself through that?
Well, and I think you and I had a conversation recently about some of my feelings around tapping my personal network. And I do fundamentally believe that my network believes in what I'm doing and they want to see the success of what I'm doing. And pretty much my personal network is going to be somehow related to the arts, right? And so they can see the value of what we're doing. So I was like, okay, so I'm not worried about that. I don't feel like I'm like, tricking anybody into supporting this. I don't feel any of those kinds of things, but it is really just like the communication of just showing up and asking people and doing that also with a super busy schedule. It's like I've got multiple jobs and multiple things going on. And I was like, okay, this is the action that I can take that's going to be a personal, like one-to-one. And I think probably I was also feeling like, oh, I'm just inundated with emails. But if somebody is reaching out specifically to me, then I'm going to consider it. And I think I was like, okay, that's the strategy that I'm going to use is just ask personally for people to consider it. And I had different, I made my own swipe file of different like texts that I would send to people that were based off of, okay, do they live in a focus city of ours? Are they a practitioner? Do they do this kind of work? People that are just friends of mine that are like, it's like the header for that section is like people who like Megan. That's right. And then also just, I had a whole section of like texts that I would send if I felt like I know their financial situation and I want to make sure that I'm not asking them for what would seem like a large financial ask. But I was like, I had asks that were like, a lot of that ended with, hey, one of my pretty consistent like ending phrases was like, thank you so much for letting me bend your ear about this. It's really important to me. And I really appreciate your encouragement. Right.
Oh, that's so good.
It just allowed for me to feel really comfortable. That's how I would talk to my friends and allowed me to use my voice and like reach out to them and say, your encouragement is really, really important to me. And so if that looks like a share or that looks like here's a coffee or whatever, I was like, all of that does really, really matter to me in this case. And so, thanks so much. And then sometimes people might hear that as like softening your language or being indirect. I definitely made direct asks in those things about like, would you please consider a gift of $5 or something like that towards this? And then we deployed the match to the campaign about halfway through. And so I started with, I used the match information a lot in what we were doing. And so that just helped give me a lot of like, I don't know, the mindset of like, I can use this to show other folks that like, I'm doing the work. Yeah. All of the above.
It also is like a natural momentum booster in that way. And it gives you another talking point for the follow-up process. So as you're following up on, another email or text or whatever the outreach piece is, you're like, hey, we just dropped this donor match, right? It gives you another point to talk about. And I can hear people like in my ear going, oh, this sounds like a lot of work. I don't have time for that. I can't call everybody. But what I can see in practice is a simple doc that you've now bucketed out in person types. So you have, people who want to see Megan win, friends, right? We have focus areas like the cities, right? And so this doesn't take a lot of time. It does take the willingness. It does take the bravery, and it takes the repetition and then the iteration. And so that's what I see in you. The other thing I see is once you started the campaign, you didn't let off. Sometimes people lose steam. Yeah, you're shaking your head. So talk to us about that. Regardless of what the like actual number said, you didn't let off. Like it ain't over till it's over energy. So talk about that.
And you're right. We did not hit our goal until the last day of the campaign.
There we go.
And so, and I've been, in fundraising activity long enough. I've done all sorts of campaigns, my own, other people's, organizations, stuff like that, to know that you get that kind of like that, that early little push, and then it's probably going to dip down. You got that little bell curve, and like the bell curve in the middle. And that's kind of why I was like, okay, that is where I am like putting the match out, because it's going to give me the new thing. And you mentioned that in Sprint a lot, like that's a good spot for it, because I think you never lose momentum. It's
never lose momentum. The end. Yeah.
And I was just like, okay, so if I just keep going every single day during this and picking, and my guiding principle was like, as direct communication as I can get, right? So that's kind of why I prioritize the texts, and fewer social media things than before, because that's not a big converter for us. And so it's there so people can see it, and like they could go and share it if they wanted to, but that's not where it's going to come from for us. And so I was like, okay, I gotta figure out what I can do that's getting me directly to the person, and just asking them in a polite and like, compassionate way, and just saying, that this is what I'm working on, and can you help? And so all the way till the end. And then I did really work on some more like edge forward storytelling, really specific names of people, and especially towards the end of the campaign, where I was going for like, previous donors and current donors, live-uns, side-uns, all of that kind of stuff towards the end, and really giving them new storytelling about why am I raising this money? Like, what does this do? What benefits are they going to experience, and all of that kind of stuff. So that bell curve moment, that middle of the time was like, okay, I'm going to like announce the match here. I'm going to keep going with all of my strategies. And then as I was like, getting towards the end, and I'm like, okay, it's okay, Megan, it's okay if we don't hit this goal, but we're doing so well, and just do whatever you can. Just stay strong until the end. And then whatever happens. You're already more successful than last year. So we're going to keep that level, and then just see what we can get to. Right. So that's for me how I
love that self-talk. That's very kind self-talk, which is really, really essential though. So you ended up raising, I'm looking at the number, $10,825, which is over 108% of your goal. And it didn't come in until the very last, which is super normal, and also really, really hard for a 2-week campaign, right? Because you're in what I call the messy middle for a stretch of time, right? And I think the part we forget, which you just hit on, which is, let's say you had raised $8,400. That would have been such a win year over year. And so that's why I love Sprint so much, because we're seeing organizations, even if you hit 92% of your goal, are you kidding me? It's still 3x what you used to do. And you're doing it in a way that's scalable. Now you have a system for. So with that said, what's next? Now you have sort of a campaign engine. What's next for Live Music Project? What's next as you look into your organization and leading it and growing it this year?
Yeah. Well, and I think that opens up some of my questions about, as I'm moving forward, I really want to take some of this momentum and go, okay, but is this my strategy? Is this like the thing that I'm doing? I believe in this. And you and I were having a conversation about reaching out to personal network. And then our next campaign will happen around May. That's there's Give Big in Seattle and Washington, like a very important time for a lot of folks. And so that we'll do our next Sprint campaign around that time period. And I've got, okay, some things that I'm learning. We've talked about, I'm having some donor meetings, and then there'll be an ask about a matching gift. And so we'll see if that happens, hopefully, fingers crossed. And, and then, but what are the things that I'm taking away? Yes, about activating my personal network, but is that the right strategy for May? I think so. But then what am I doing between here and there that we talked about that's like cultivating those folks so they don't really feel like, oh, Megan just shows up when she wants me to donate to
That's
Ellen.
right.
Yeah.
She only calls when she needs something.
Yeah.
Right. Because with over 100, I have to look at the number, over 100 donors, a couple of things happen too in these sprints, which are really, really cool. You start to see, first of all, you get new donors through it. So there's that kind of audience to bring in and welcome and make sure you're not just calling when you need something, right? And then you start to see people that will surprise you. They gave a gift amount that totally surprised you. So you may have the beginning of a future mid or major donor matches. Those are opportunities for you to nurture between now and May. And then ultimately it is like the next sprint, you can start to compound on this segment. So the ripple gets bigger. So you're not always just like friends, family, right? The ripple gets bigger. And I think too, bringing the next fundraiser in and having that be more focused in Seattle will also give you a bigger opportunity for donors too. So it's such a smart way to think about it.
Well, and Christina, I was bringing this up about one of the things that I'm feeling a little challenged by at the moment is that Live Music Project is fundamentally free. It is a public good. And like, that's why we chose a nonprofit status, like when we first started this organization versus making our tech tools for profit. Like, and that means that we're supporting these music communities in a very advocacy kind of way. So like our programs calendar and we get this all the time from funders and things like that. The calendar is the least sexy fundraising story for a lot of people. Like funders do not like want to talk about calendars. So we come up with all the ways that we talk about those kinds of things. But the part that I'm thinking a lot about is that we have all of these users of the calendar. Like we are outpaced 200,000 users a year, which is like
a ton of traffic,
big numbers.
Yeah.
But the traffic does not turn into supporters.
That's right.
And that's the part that I'm like, okay, it doesn't mean that everybody has to, that's not the point, but I do need to keep thinking about and like finding ways that
I think that is another one of our strategies we'll work on together is I think there's such an opportunity because when somebody is surprised and delighted that they were able to go to like the string quartet down the street and they were like, oh my gosh, yes.
Mm-hmm.
And they want to give, bridging that for them. It's almost like the Wikipedia just popped into my head, but like sometimes you'll see the header right on there. And like how many of us just use Wikipedia? We just use it. We just take it, and we love it. We don't want it to go away. It's very useful to us. And so bridging the gap for users is actually going to be a different type of campaign than the one you just ran. Now there's going to be overlap because we're going to see your donors be users, of course, especially if they're so interested in the arts and music, but it is a different campaign. And that excites me. I'm like, ooh, is it a recurring giving campaign? Is it some sort of just like, we started to talk about it. So I think that is going to be a cool opportunity and it's right there in front of you because of your high traffic, but it is like, okay, what's the conversion plan there? Yeah.
Yeah. And so that's really kind of like, that thing that feels like just a gray open space.
Yes, it's an opportunity.
Like, okay. Yeah. And I love that you said recurring giving because that honestly has been my most successful other fundraising campaign was, we call it the 10K concert club. Like the 10K concert club started because it was the first time that we had reached 10,000 concerts, like on the calendar historically, right? Now we're cool. Almost doing 10,000 a year. So like we do like,
I feel like recurring giving could be so cool for you too, because there's an identity to like live music. Like, again, like I saw that in me where I'm just like, if you love live music, you love live music, right? And so there's an identity to be like, oh no, I support them on a recurring, but like I'm one of them, I'm with them. So I feel like that's an opportunity for you for sure
And
too. So that'll be a really fun sprint because we can run sprints for sure for recurring giving.
Love that. So I think that's probably where that's the thing that's like calling me the most for this next thing, and just making sure that I'm not losing momentum, like we were talking about in the like it's not
in the middle.
It's
between
so
sprints.
easy for me, as like I said, fractional ED roles, that because I'm spinning a lot of plates, it means that you can't do every single touch point that you want to, but you really have to be thoughtful and be like, okay, we can do this.
And that's when we talk about like automated. We're going to do a juicy automated welcome series. So it's like, what can we automate? What do we actually need to do some one-to-one for? But with it in mind that like, yeah, this is fractional, this is part-time, and in a way that it's not like eating your bandwidth, but you're getting those donors retained for sure.
And so those are the things that I think about, and I'm just so grateful for this particular course and like these resources, because of the fact that it helps me stay accountable to those things. And so, yeah,
amazing. And that's what's so cool about when we're in year end. My coaching, I know we did some pop-up trainings and things like that. I'm talking about year end. When we're in Q1, we're talking about this. We're talking about stewardship. We're talking about nurture. We're talking about retention. So it's like, even for the ED who's like, what am I supposed to be doing? I'm like, come over here. I'm going to orient you to what we should be doing this time of year. Thank you so much. This has been, I could talk to you all day, obviously.
Likewise.
We could just start listening to music and singing. We ask every guest on the podcast to share a thought they'd like to think on purpose. So this could be a mantra, an affirmation, a quote that resonated with you. Would you share yours with our audience?
Oh, this is so exciting. Okay. The one that popped into my head is a phrase that I borrowed from another mentor, that is, put your hand on your heart and say, it's my time and I'm ready for the next step. And so
that's good.
Yeah. And so I think that that's in a period of growth, in being really vulnerable about, like you said, just trying to be brave and do things I've never done before in this area. I'm still learning, I'm still growing. And so I just to put my hand on my heart and say, it's my time and I'm ready for the next step.
I just pictured you or me or anyone who's like, because I was watching your YouTube, nervous, about to walk out on stage. I'm like, that would be a good one. You're like, just one next step, one next step, one next step.
Exactly.
Where can everyone connect with you, connect with Live Music Project? And we'll link to it as well.
Yeah. Absolutely. Well, I hope that if anyone listening is interested in classical music at all, come on over to livemusicproject.org. That's where you'll find the calendar. That's where you could get signed up for spontaneous free tickets when we relaunch that new platform. I'm so excited. And so obviously also the socials. If you want to connect with me directly, I think you can find me on the socials at Mezzo Ihnen. So that's MEZZOIHNEN. And that's a way, I'm really active about all of those things. And so I do really love connecting with people that are in nonprofits, in the arts, that are interested in all of these things. I do really walk my talk around community building. And so I hope that anyone who hears this will reach out and say hello. So
amazing. And LMP is any city. I know we talked about Seattle, but you can type it in for any city.
Absolutely. So as we're growing, we have our current focus cities are Portland, Oregon, Seattle, New York City, the Baltimore, DC corridor, and Atlanta. And then we also feature performances from all over the United States and internationally. So it's always free to use. If you are a performer, please submit your concerts. You don't have to go through any sort of extra steps or pay any fees or anything like that. We just want to help connect listeners to what you're doing.
And I know we're about to wrap up, but I'm going to share this anyway. So we were in Greece this summer and we were in this beautiful town called Nafplio, and it was just a gorgeous town. And I'm walking with my kids and it's like almost dusk and it's just gorgeous. And we see this performance start to set up, and it's a band and there's a chorus, maybe middle and high school chorus set up. And we just sat there and we stayed and listened to the whole thing. And it's one of my most favorite memories of this like month-long trip. It was so magical. And it's like, those are the memories those experiences. But when you add sound, you add voice, you add music to it, it just like imprints in you. And my son brings it up all the time. He's like, remember when that chorus, it was a school from Cincinnati and we saw them? And I'm like, yes. So I'm like, okay, next time we travel, we're going to use LMP and see if there's anything going on.
Yes.
So it was so fun.
Yes. Oh, just let live music decorate your life. It's so much better that way.
Amazing. Well, thank you. And I'm so excited to see what this year brings for you.
Thank you so much, Christina. This is honestly, I'm just so grateful for you. Thank you very much.
Hey, high achiever. I know your sights are set on ambitious, world-changing goals. In the Purpose and Profit Club group coaching program, you can get the support, motivation, and strategy to accelerate your impact. I like to say it's where the inner work meets a big impact and big funding. Go to splendidcourses.com/waitlist, and you will be first to be notified when we open up doors, and you'll get special bonuses when you join our waitlist. See you inside.